We're live. All right, guys, welcome back to LOS.Live. Hey, guys, this is going to be a great show. I've got my personal realtor who's become a friend, and got to tell you, realtor, investor, entrepreneur, mother, world traveler, Morgan Powell with Salina Homes. Welcome to the show. Super excited to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we already know you're a superstar in Salina, Kansas. I see everything that you're doing out there on the social platforms and just what you're doing for your consumers and the community as well. And I thought it'd be a great idea to bring you over to the show and just showcase all the great stuff that you got going on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So are you from Salina originally?
Yes, I'm born and raised here. I went to school here at Kansas State University here in Salina and met my husband. And I got my real estate license when I was in college to kind of help my mom. And I grew up watching her and just kind of got it to help her and ended up making a full-time career out of it.
So born in the industry and, followed mom, went to school. Which high school did you go to? Were you South or Central?
I went to South.
I did too. I'm a South graduate. Class of 95 here. So I think I got you by a few years. You don't have to say yours. I love it. I love it. So graduated from Salina South and transitioned over to Kansas State University. Go Wildcats. Purple and white, guys. By the way, I've got purple cars and purple interior. Might have something to do with my past in Kansas. So, so you go to school and you decide I'm going to do it part-time. And how did that transition into, the full-time thing?
So I was a fundraising director for a local university, and I was constantly running out of days off, and my husband was deployed overseas, and we did a lot of travel, and I was just out of time off. And my mom's like, why aren't you doing this full time? You can make more money, you can set your own hours. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I need to do this full time. And so I made the dive in, and I've been doing this about 15 years now.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, and doing it very, very well, right? I've seen your report card, and I've also worked with you personally, and it makes sense why you're having so much success. But you don't just do real estate for the consumers; you're also an investor as well. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. I definitely believe in investing in real estate, buying and holding. I've got 19 of my own properties that I bought with my husband, and we self-manage.
That's great. And I think you actually, if I remember right, on your social somewhere, you have something about like how to become an investor, like maybe some of the tips and tricks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I built 2 different courses to kind of help people like to learn the fundamentals of real estate investing, because it's not for everybody. And so I feel like it's really important that you learn the fundamentals before you dive in. And then a pinpoint that I thought a lot of people were having issues with was self-managing. And
Yeah.
I'd run into all these people. They're like, okay, well, I want to buy a real estate and I want to, rent it out, but I don't want to manage it. I don't want to deal with it. I'm like, it's really not that hard, like it's just, you got to have the right processes and stick to your systems and run it like a business. And that's what I do is I teach people how to do it and run it like a business.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And guys, if you want to check that out, just find her at Instagram at Hey Morgan Powell, and where you would normally find a link tree. If you know what a link tree is, just a little link right there under her name, and you can click on that and it'll take you right to her page, where you can see all that information, connect with her, buy a property, become an investor, right? You can do all kinds of cool stuff. So
Absolutely.
go find Morgan at Hey Morgan Powell on Instagram. And I think you're going to be happy that you did. So, so you get into investing, you get into the real estate side of the business, but you're also, I see you guys all over the place. World travelers. I mean, you guys are flying all over the place. How do you do that?
So my husband's a pilot. He has been flying since he was 16, and he is a professional pilot, went to school at Kansas State University, and we had the opportunity to buy our own airplane this year, and we jumped on it, and it's been really great. It's been fun to show our kids all over the United States, and we've got lots of fun random trips planned. As you know, it's kind of hard to travel places from Kansas, especially
It
from
is.
where we are in the center of Kansas. It takes a long
I'm
time
from
to get
there.
places, and so now
Yep.
we can do quick, easy trips. We're talking about a trip to Mount Rushmore soon, and just all those places that are hard to get to from where we live, and we're going to make it there. So it's pretty exciting.
That's super cool. Well, it's funny. You see it all over the internet. The modern day investor, and how they can transition that into an opportunity that allows for you to do the traveling. But that's not just you, because I see I see what you're doing behind the scenes, and I don't know how you keep up with all of it. I mean, you've got a lot of listings, you're doing a lot of sales, and you're closing a lot of transactions a year. How do you find time to travel in between everything else that you're doing?
So it's really important to have really great systems. And I do a brain dump every single night. So I know exactly what I'm going to do the next day. And I've got a way that I track all of our under contract deals, a spreadsheet that I use. And then I've got a notification system that I send out to all of our buyers when they're under contract. So they know all their important deadlines for inspections, all those kinds of things. I feel like it's really important to over communicate and
Yeah.
um, so everybody understands where they are in their transaction. And I've got a really great team. I couldn't do it without them. We have two agents that work with us that are super experienced, that are here for showings when I'm not in town. They help us with paperwork and extra marketing and open houses. And my mom and I are a team, and we work together. So it's a group effort for sure.
Yeah, well, overly communicate. I love that you said that, right? Because I think it's a skill set that a lot of people don't have, right? And at the end of the day, when you're doing a transaction on your home, right, whether it's a primary residence or an investment property, you want to know what's going on. And when you're crickets, you're not hearing things, you're assuming the worst. So
Mhm.
I love the fact that you do overly communicate, and being on the receiving end of those conversations, texts, emails that you do. I can tell you, it's not overly, it's just the right amount, right? It's the right amount of communication to give transparency as to where we are, what's happening. And, one of the things I love about the way that you do business, Morgan, is that you don't tell people what they want to hear. And that's a good thing, right? Because telling people what they want to hear sometimes doesn't lead to getting things finalized. And
Exactly. And I want to take away the emotion out of it. And I don't want to sugarcoat anything for anybody because that doesn't sell houses.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And sometimes what you don't want to hear is what you need to hear, because that's how you get properties moved. And last time that I looked, let's talk on the listing side. The longer that a home sits on as a listing, that's more payments that you're making towards that transaction. It's more interest that you're paying. And at the end of the day, when you start to look at that, if you do have that desire to move, that starts to add up really quickly. And sometimes taking a little less than what you expected actually turns into making more in the long run. And, I just want to put that out there, because it's hard sometimes for people to see the silver lining in making concessions or in, accepting some negotiation. But right now we're in a unique market. And I think you have to have that confidence that your agent is going to support you and know what they're doing. And that's what I found with you and your team, Morgan. You gave the right information. You were able to provide, info about the market that I didn't know, right? Because I'm in Dallas. I got a property in Salina. I don't know what's going on out there, to help me make that educated decision as to, yes, this is what we got to do to get this thing moved. So,
Mhm.
how do you do that? How do you stay so in tune with the market and know what's going on to make sure that you're able to, give those consumers that right education?
So I spend a lot of time studying the numbers. I feel like it's really, really important to understand the numbers, understand the market. So every week I do a seller's update so they can understand, like, okay, this is the number of homes on the market. And then I break it down so they understand, like, okay, what is your direct competition in your price range, so that it makes more sense to them. During COVID in Salina, we had between 40 and 50 homes on the market. And then
Mm.
the last couple of years, we had under 70 homes. And then in June, we got up to around 80 homes on the market. And then yesterday, when I pulled it, we were at 104, which is still
Wow.
definitely a seller's market here in Salina, but it's less of a seller's market than it was. It's not as crazy. It's not like, skip the cleaning and the repairs. It's you gotta take care of your property, and it's got to be priced right, and it will sell. A balanced market in Salina would be about 150 homes on the market. So we're definitely still a seller's market. There's just a little bit more inventory than there has been.
Now, let me ask you a question. What do you think is driving more clients to put their home on the market right now? We're at the end of the summer. Kids are about to go back to school. Traditionally, what you see is a lot of people go on their market at the beginning of the summer, right? So that they can have more inventory. Why are we seeing homes starting to come on the market more towards the tail end of the summer? What do you think is driving that?
Well, we have a lot of new construction happening in Salina. There was a lot of grant money to produce more affordable new construction homes. So our price point of under 230 in Salina, there's a lot of new construction available right
That's great.
now. They just got done. So that's kind of making a surplus in that middle range right now for us here in Salina. But I am seeing a lot of people like move their parents to assisted living, those kinds of things right now, or just have to move out of town for a job, or they're
Yeah.
moving to town for a job. So lots of different scenarios. Salina
Well,
definitely is growing though, and we're seeing a lot of growth with Salina, which is great for our community.
Well, and I love to see that affordable housing because I know that's been a bit of a problem there. You've had some affordable homes that they're typically aged properties that maybe need
Mhm.
some work, or maybe they don't have the square footage to support the family. So to see some of these new properties dropping into the Salina market, it sounds like you've got some good growth that's happening to help put people in the homes that they actually want.
Absolutely, and they're at a price point where they can afford them, and they're not having to pay special assessment taxes, so they're not having to pay for the infrastructure over 20 years. So
That's
that's
fantastic.
great for them.
Yeah, so they're affordable homes. Wow, what a novel concept, especially in a market where, I can't say that rates are high, but they're higher than what people want them to be. And we've seen a lot of year over year increase to property values, which has made it less affordable along with the inflation. So, to be in tune with the city and know, hey, we've got to get these homes built, and we have to put them in a position where the taxes are affordable. It sounds like there's a lot of positive things that are happening in the Solana market right now.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about processes and how you are able to just really dive in and provide these different reports that you provide. Because one of the things that I saw on the receiving end was you were giving me an update every single week as to what was happening in the market, how many viewings we had, how many showings we had. Right? How do you do that? What kind of software are you using to do that stuff?
So I actually have a really great agent on my team. It was kind of like a brainchild that we had. And I was just like, hey, we need to be communicating to our sellers because when a house is over on the market over a week, that was kind of unusual. And then that kind of started happening last year where they were sitting on the market a little over a week. And so I was like, we need to be communicating to them. They need to understand where they stand against their competition. And I want them to understand what we're doing for them. And we're doing more than what we are just showing on that paper, but we're showing the main things that people care about. They want to see their analytics for realtor.com. They want to see Zillow, but we're reaching more people than just on those two platforms. Like we want to reach people that aren't necessarily looking for a house. So we're all over Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok and YouTube. And some of those are hard to show the analytics for, but like we can show on Facebook really easily like how many views we're getting. And so I think that's really important. A lot of people are just bored at work and they're just scrolling and then they'll see a house and they'll be like, oh, I should go look at it, or oh, I should tell my coworker, my cousin, my friend. And that's what we want to do is create a big hype about the house.
That's great. Well, and I want to go ahead and showcase that too, guys. So if you're watching the in right now, you can find Morgan and her team at Facebook at salinahomes.com, Morgan Powell. And I know that's a mouthful, but it's going across the bottom of the screen. And, just if you're driving, I hope you're not watching. But if you're seeing this, take the time, jot that down, go check out the page. This is one of the things that I loved about Morgan and her team. You guys are actually doing a lot of stuff on social. And I talk about this on the show all the time. I truly believe that in 2025, social media is your business card. But it's also a place where people are actually going to, to find things, right?
Mhm.
And you do a great job of getting out and showcasing the homes that you're listing, showing people what's on the market. And I think that's super important right now. Again, we're in an information marketplace and people are going to consume media where they want to see it. And if they
Mhm.
know these homes are available, Morgan and Jody are going to be reporting that out there, online. So what got you, in the position to start doing that stuff? Like what made you say, we got to start posting these things?
I'm a mom, and so I want to be home more with my kids. And so I primarily work with sellers, and I want our sellers to have the best service and the best experience. And I feel like you got to take it one step above everybody else, and that's what I
Yeah.
try to do because 95% of home buyers start their search online. And so I want to reach out to everybody on the way that they see their platforms. Like so that's why we're on every platform possible that we can be to show off the houses.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. I'm over on Instagram and then I move over to Facebook and there you guys are good. What other platforms are you guys using?
We're using TikTok a little bit. We've gotten really into doing YouTube. I
Yeah.
love to do YouTube like video walkthroughs because we have so many new construction homes. And so it's great to be able to refer back to different floor plans if people want to build in a different neighborhood, or a lot of times for out of town buyers. That way they can see all the special features. Usually my husband helps me with the videos, but he was traveling. And so I had my kids help me last week with it. And that was pretty fun because my 7-year-old, he was like showing off all the features of the house, like the soft close and like the hidden pantry and the pull out for the trash can, like the things that you don't see in the
That's
photos.
so fun.
And so like that's what we want to show off is the things that you can't see, and that way they can feel like they're there.
Well, I love that you brought that up because you do get people that are transitioning in from other cities, and I've done a lot of podcasts East Coast through West Coast, and I've talked to a lot of agents who had to show homes during COVID, and they're like, how did you do that, right? Like, how did you? And they're like, well, a lot of filming with the camera, right, and walking through and showing these things. But when you become the news, right, when there's people out there that are looking, they know they can rely on your channel to see what inventory is available. You become that resource, right? That reliable resource that people know, hey, if we go over and check out Morgan's YouTube channel, we can see all these homes that are popping up in Salina, and now we can shop without having to make the long distance travel. So I love that you're doing that. What is the YouTube channel? Where do they find you on YouTube?
So it's Make Salina Home. That's what it's called. It's just Make Salina Home. And
Make
that's
Salina Home.
uh-huh.
What a novel concept. I love
Yep.
that.
Mhm.
Very cool. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up too, just so I can drop it in the URL if I can find it. Yep, there you are. What do you know? All over this place. Okay, cool. Well, and I'm gonna play some of the music. Yep, that's not what I want to do. Hold on. My bad. There we go. So while I'm looking for this, I want to become an investor in the Salina market. What's my first thing to do? What do I do?
I think you got to figure out your numbers and what things actually rent for. Like I spend a lot of time like studying like, okay, what could you rent a property for? Because if your mortgage is going to be 1,400 and you can only rent it for, 1,450, like that doesn't make sense to me. Like I'm not going to do that deal if it's me most of the time. So I think it's really important to understand like what is what can Salina withhold if you're going to invest here, or wherever you're going to invest. I do a lot of like searching on Zillow and seeing like, what's available for rentals. Are they pet friendly? What is the location? What's the bedroom, bathroom size? And I just watch them and see how long they stay open. And that's how I kind of gauge my decisions on what I'm buying or helping my clients with.
Very cool. So when you find that perfect property and you move forward with purchasing it, but you don't know how to manage it, right? Like, what does that look like? Like, how do you get into the point where you can manage these properties? Do you have to do it all yourself, or are there people out there that can help you with this type of thing?
So my toolkit that I always give to all of our clients, it's a self-management binder basically, and it's a could be emailed as a PDF, or I print it off for them too. And it kind of just talks about like, forming all your systems, figuring out your paperwork, figuring out it talks about how to advertise it, all the ways to protect yourself from setting up an LLC to having all the special insurance that you need to have, and just kind of running it like a business and building your team of people. And I think having your team of people is so important, whether it be being a real estate agent or being an investor. um, when I have an AC go out, I don't just call some random company. I call the same company every time. If
Yeah.
I have a plumbing issue, it's the same person every time. And they almost always show up within 30 minutes of me reaching out because we do so much business together. So I think it's really important to find your people and stick to those people.
Well, I love that you said that because again, I'm going to go back to our transaction. I'm in Dallas, you're in Salina, and I've lost touch with a lot of the local, what am I looking for? Handyman, or, people that we need, right? Resources is what I was looking for. And, at the end of the day, I don't have, a Rolodex full of people that I know, like, and trust. And when you're working with a great agent, that's what you're going to find is their resources become your resources. And, Morgan, after 16 years, I think is what you said, on the real estate side, and owning multiple properties yourself, I have a pretty strong suspicion there's not very many things that people would need to have done on their home that you can't help them find a solution for.
Absolutely. And that's how we want to keep those relationships with our clients, and we help them, 10 years down the road, they'll reach out, or a couple months down the road with an issue, or they want to do a remodel, and we help them make that connection.
Yeah. Well, one thing we always like to talk about, because, we get clients that or borrowers that a lot of times will listen to the show, but at the same time, we get other agents that listen in too, right? And, especially in Salina, I think when other agents see your name come across the screen, they're like, okay, how's she do all this, right? Like, how's she doing all this production? So one of the things we always like to ask is if you had been uprooted, you got to move from Salina tomorrow. You can't do business there anymore. God forbid, right? And you have to replant yourself in a new city and start straight from scratch. How do you rebuild what you've done today?
Oh man, I would get in that community and get involved and start making connections. My mom and I are both very involved in our community, especially me right now with having kids. Very involved in the classrooms and their local programming and local moms groups. We did a lot with like the MOPS group growing up. They've since changed names to Momco, but like my kids and I have made friends, like lifetime friends from this group, and
That's
that's
awesome.
helped grow my business. And I would just say, yeah, get involved in that community and get plugged in for sure.
So getting involved in the community, getting involved in some of the local groups, getting to know the people, that's step number one. And like what else though? What like what else do you do, right? To like get out there and really start building your market.
So I always network with all the local lenders and national lenders too, to figure out like, hey, what is special programs too that could serve the buyers, and that way the buyers can understand, you know, is there a way to get into a house with no money down, or what about rural development, or what's that first time home buyer money that's available through the state? Like I make sure I know all those programs and help buyers understand that.
That's great. And then what about getting to know the market, right? It's a new town for you, and you're going to get in and you're going to tackle this thing and start really teaching or, teaching your consumers how to buy and sell in that marketplace. How do you dial into that? How do you really get tapped into a local market?
I go in a ton of homes, and so like I would make sure that I understand like what homes are selling for, and I'd be going in as many as I could to understand like, okay, is this really worth this price? And I'd be watching for when they close to see, did it close at that price, and if there was any concessions, and I would keep track of that for
Yeah.
sure.
So really just making sure that you taking in all the data and understanding the market from,
Mhm.
from literally walking through doors, right? Like
Yeah.
would you see go out and check out these homes, like, make sure that you walk through them and know what your opportunities are?
Absolutely, for sure. And I'd make sure I make some good connections with, inspectors and title companies and all those things, because, most of the time we only have 10 days for inspections, and so it's really important to know who to go to.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So again, start building that Rolodex of people so that when folks need something, you become that go-to, right? You've got a guy or a gal that can take care of those things. So I love
Absolutely,
it.
yes.
I love it. Well, at the end of the day, I would love to keep you here all day, but I know you're probably traveling somewhere really cool. What topics did we not cover today that we should have?
I think that agents really would just want to rush in and start selling homes right away. But I think that they really need to understand that they need to slow down and take the time to understand everything, and understand their
Mhm.
forms, and understand their market, and understand marketing before they dive in and start trying to help people. Because when you go to real estate school, you're just you're learning some laws and rules. You're not understanding like how to actually do it, how to fill out the forms,
Right,
how to represent the client, how to look out in their best interest. What are
right.
the what are things you could write on a contract to protect them? Those kinds of things.
Yeah,
And
what
like
I
I was really lucky because I got to follow my mom around for several years, and I would just listen to her talk to clients, and how she spoke to them, and because you control how the client feels. So
that's
you got to
right.
set the tone.
It's funny. I was talking to somebody the other day and they said, when I went to real estate school, I just learned how to keep myself out of jail, like how to make sure that I'm doing the right things so that I don't get myself in trouble. Right. But they're not teaching you the practical things that you really need to know to serve the people you're working for. So, I do want to ask that question. So you're brand new to the industry. Let's say you're not moving markets. You're brand new to the industry and you're looking for the right way to get started. Would you say, maybe latch on to another agent that's doing really well and join their team?
Yes. Yeah. I would try to join a team and try to do open houses for them, try to do showings, try to, watch them go to listing appointments if they'll let you, all the things.
Get as many at bats as you can, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Well, I just appreciate you jumping on. And again, after working with you directly, I can see why you're having such great success in the industry. I can see why people want to go there. And this is one thing I tell people all the time. When you are looking to pair up with the right agent, sometimes just going with your sister or your brother's friend is not always the best way to go about it. You want to look at somebody that has a proven track record of getting the job done, right? And at the end of the day, I've seen, like I said, Morgan, I've seen your report card. And, when I knew I had to find somebody to get that job done, guess what? I looked at the person that had the most at bats, the person that was moving properties more than anybody else, and your name kept popping up, right? So there's something to that, guys, because you can work with the wrong agent and end up with the wrong property or take too long to sell your home, or you can work with the right agent and you're going to have a great experience. And if you're in Salina or you're thinking about moving to Salina or any of those surrounding areas, I can tell you from experience, Morgan with Salina Homes is going to guide you through. So guys, if you want to find Morgan, I'm going to go back to Instagram. You can find her here at Hey Morgan Powell on Facebook. That one is a little bit longer, but it's salinahomes.com. JodyRyan.MorganPowell. And then she just opened up that YouTube link as well, which is Make Salina Home at Make Salina Home. So go check Morgan out of there. And I'm going to tell you right now, you want to make sure that you subscribe, like, make some comments, follow her, because I promise you, if you're trying to find your way home, she's going to get you there. Okay. And if you're trying to sell your home, she's going to make that happen and give you the right advice to get that home moved off the market as quickly and efficiently as possible, and hopefully save you some hard-earned cash and make more and put it back in your pocket. So anywhere else that you want to put that name out there, Morgan?
No, that's it. That's great.
Okay, cool. Well, I certainly appreciate you jumping on today, and thank you so much for being the amazing individual that you are. Guys, if you are enjoying the content, keep coming back. Keep stopping by. We're going to keep bringing on great guests like Morgan Powell from Salina Homes. And man, I just appreciate you for everything that you do. So, and I appreciate you, audience. Thank you guys so much for dropping in. So until the next time, we will see you then. Take care, guys.